check. Checkity, check, 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 check. All right, that's a sound check. Yay, sound check. All right, guys, we're going to officially go live here in just a little less than dos minutos. Dos minutos! Some fun stuff to go over tonight. Had a nice rules question from Mr. Harrington, so I thought we would spend some time kind of talking about that. It's an interesting question. And we'll probably start off fairly quickly with that as a starting point and just kind of see if you guys enjoy that. And then if you guys have any other rules questions at all, be sure and throw them into the chat and we'll try and cover them tonight. We got a howdy from Jim and a Ptolemachus and a Bri G and a DW Lowe and a William Schmidt-Monson. Howdy, howdy. We have a Clinton down in Texas. We have Newt Pond Skipper. Howdy. We got a howdy from Greg down in Tucson. Aussie Dog 1976 says howdy from Cairns, Queensland. Wow, how awesome is that? Thank you, Aussie, so much for joining today. So we're going to talk about a little bit of rules. We're going to talk about Pulpalooza 2025. I hope Aussie can join us in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we're going to go officially live in just about 15 seconds from... Thank you, dear. Now. Okay. Oh, let's see if I can get these on. Look at that. I got glasses. I need a beverage. I feel like I need a beverage. I still have 5 seconds to get one.
Nope. 4, 3,
no.
2,
Oh,
1. All right, we got to get this party started because we're at intermission. So
how convenient for you.
It was convenient.
How convenient for you. So Bessy is all. Oh, look at her! Look at her lovely Pulpalooza tee. Isn't that nice? Pulpalooza 2025. How awesome is that?
Be there, be square.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Come join us in Albuquerque, New Mexico, October 16th through the 18th. We're going to be, Bessy and I will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico at Slice of Dice Pizzeria on Wyoming Boulevard. There are 2 Slice of Dice pizzerias in Albuquerque, so the one that we will be at is on Wyoming Boulevard. So, I wanted to kind of start, if you guys have any rules questions, howdy Vern. Thank you, Vern, for joining. If you guys have any rules questions, be sure and throw it in the chat, and we'll try and cover it tonight as best we can. So this question came up from Luke Harrington, and I understand the confusion, and I understand how this could be almost... intimidating to resolve when you look at this swirling melee and you go, oh my gosh, there's 4 different players in this fight. So we have our Danes here and over here and over here. 3 Danes out there. And then we have Our Lady's Rifle Academy. We have Cadence Star here in the middle. She is facing off against 3 enemies. We have Avery over here, and she has 1, 2, 3 enemies in contact with her. And we have Brigitte over here. She has 1, 2, 3 enemies as well. And Mrs. Higgins back here, she's got a crocagator by the tail. So she's the one that's kind of not overly engaged. Then we have Getarex. We have the Mucklings. He's engaged with one of the Drulans over here, one of the Danes. This Muckling is pulling this wolf by the tail. And then we have a muckling over here that's engaged with 2 enemies, and we have another muckling over here. Now, so you can look at that and you go, oh my gosh, how the heck are you going to resolve this? And the secret to resolving it is to play it as normal. This is the sort of thing that you're supposed to happen in Pulp Alley. If you have 4 players going at it, we expect this sort of thing to happen. So you follow the normal sequence of play, and we're going to cover some of the important things to remember when this sort of thing happens. So I guess first, remember that somebody has to be the director. So for this example, we're going to say that Getarex over here is currently the director. So when he looks at this situation, he's got to decide which side has to activate a character. Now we're going to say that these 2 Crocodigators, Crocodigator 1 and Crocodigator 2 over here, we're going to actually say that those are non-player characters, so he cannot force them to activate. But there are 3 player characters involved in this, and that's the Danes, led by Meineke here. We have Cadence Star leading the Rifle Academy, and we have Getarex leading the Mucklings. So when he looks at this situation and he says his characters are mainly up against the Danes. Getarex is over here on a Drew land. This Muckling has this. This Muckling is up against a Dane and an NPC, and this one has a Ladies Rifle Academy and this. So when he looks at this, he thinks that his main adversary in this particular scenario, or this particular situation, are the Danes. So what he's going to do, what Getarex is going to do, is he's going to ask the Danes to activate a character. That's what the director does. Now, Meineke here has to decide who in her group is she going to activate. This poor Hilda over here, she has 1, 2, 3, 4 enemies in base-to-base contact. That would be a very suicidal thing to do, is to activate Hilda. Meineke has 2 enemies in contact with her, but one of them is the enemy leader, Cadence Star here, plus another Rifle Academy lady. Now that's, if you had to do it, that would be a better option probably than activating her.
Mm-hmm.
This Drew Lan over here has the enemy leader, Getarex, in contact with her, but she also has one of the Rifle Academy in contact with her. So maybe we take a chance there and activate that character. So this is an important thing to remember. This is so important to remember right here. The only character that can ever split dice is the active character. None of the, if a character is not the active character, they cannot cannot split their dice. They cannot be forced to split their dice if they are the inactive character. And that's why you never, ever want to activate one of your own characters when you are facing multiple enemies. If you can avoid it. Now, there's times when you're going to be forced into that situation, and that's when the wheels have really come off and you are in trouble. What you want to do instead is force the enemy to activate when you're outnumbered, so that you don't have to split your dice. So let's look at what's going to happen right here. So let's say this Drew Lan, for whatever reason, has 4 dice 6 to split. Now she has to split and put 1 dice on the Rifle Academy girl, and she must put 1 dice on this. She must put 1 dice on each enemy that she is touching. Then her extra dice, if she has dice left over, she can decide where she puts those dice. In this example, we're just going to go ahead and say that she decides to go ahead and put 2 on the Rifle Academy and 2 on Getarex back here. We're not actually going to roll dice. We're just going to roll through this. Now, let's say the end result of that fight is that she decides to fight this gal first, And when she's fighting her, let's say that the Drew land wins that fight and puts the enemy down. Now, what happens there when you win a fight? That means, the initiative has shifted, and she's going to become Meineke here, or the Danes player will become the director. However, she still has to fight Getarex. And in that fight, we're going to say it's a fight to a standstill, and neither one of them is injured, and neither one of them win the initiative. Now, Meineke has become the director. So again, it's just really important that you just follow the sequence of events. So now that Meineke is the director, she can assess the situation again and say, you know what? Most of my character, what I don't want to do is force my characters to activate. So she could say, well, I'm going to force the baddies to activate, or she's going to force what do you think? Go switch me back to 4. What do you think that she would do here? So she is mainly engaged with, or she doesn't want these two characters to force her to activate. So while she has the initiative, maybe she's going to try and force the Rifle Academy to activate. While she has control of the initiative, she's going to try to force the Rifle Academy to activate. So now the Rifle Academy has to make the best possible decision that they can. You don't want to activate this poor gal because she's got 4 or 3 enemies around her. Cadence doesn't want to activate when she's in contact with 3 enemies either. But look back here. Mrs. Higgins is all on her own. And so she could look at this situation and say, okay, I'll activate Mrs. Higgins. So when it's your turn to activate and you get to pick your character, pick somebody that you think has a chance of winning a fight so that you can steal the initiative away. So Mrs. Higgins is actually a darn good brawler. She would roll 3 die 8 in that fight. The NPC would only be rolling 3 die 6. Let's say for whatever reason it's a stalemate and neither one of them goes down there. So that means Meineke remains in control, and she says, I think one thing, go back to 4 or 1 again, babe. So I think in this sort of brawl, I guess a tip would be to make sure you use your
counters,
your yellow mark, your whatever you're going to use to mark your multiple fights. So that this is in this kind of swirling melee where it's just going crazy all over the place. If there's a tip, that's probably it, to make sure that you are keeping track of what you're going to do there.
Yep.
So it was an even fight there. Nobody clearly won. That means Meineke remains in control. And then she's going to ask, let's see, I want to do a fight that she's not involved in. She's going to ask, what do you think, baby?
Well, she could ask Getarex to go.
Make Getarex activate? Yeah. Okay. So she's going to ask...
down the corner, none of her people are there.
Yeah. She's going to ask Getarex to activate. And Getarex would assess the situation. And I think Getarex would look at this right here and say, you know what? I think I could win this fight. I don't want to activate this guy in contact with this wolf here. That's a losing fight. But I could win this fight. See, that's what you don't want to activate these guys because they would have to split their dice.
Yep.
But so I would activate this guy and they would fight. What do you guys think? 1, 2, or 3 will say Getarex wins. 4, 5, 6 will say she wins. 1, 2, 3, Getarex clearly wins the fight. He puts the Drew land down. And that means he would then become the director again, and it's his situation to decide who he wants to go again. And he's going to make Meineke activate somebody again. Now she's in a bad spot. So let's say she's gonna activate herself. She doesn't want to sacrifice Hilda over here to this 4, having to split her dice 4 ways. That is a hopeless fight. But, oh, she also has the wolf,
Mm-hmm.
would have to split 2 ways, but Meineke is going to go ahead and take the fight. And the important thing to remember here, Meineke would have to split her dice. I'm gonna just put some dice out here. Meineke would normally be rolling d10s, but I'm gonna say that she has 4 die 8 right now. Maybe she's injured, so she would have to split those dice. She could put one against this lady and the other 3 against Lady Cadence. Now, Lady Cadence, and this is important, boys and girls. Look, Lady Cadence is currently engaged with 1, 2, 3 enemies. How much does she have to split her dice? That's the question. How many ways does Cadence have to split her dice? And the answer is 0, because Cadence is not the active character. That is such an important rule to remember in these sorts of fights. Cadence, because she is not the active character, does not have to split her dice. That means she will be rolling her full dice of, and again, we'll just say Cadence is injured or whatever, and she would be rolling 4 die 8 in this fight. So, and then, you would just proceed from there.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping track of your multiple fights is the only really tricky spot. It's almost like a chess game, of really thinking through your moves, because it matters. Those decisions that you make in that fight of who you activate, you want to pick somebody that you think has a chance in that fight, so that you can try and steal that initiative away. And then you just go through the sequence as you're supposed to. The director picks somebody, that player has to activate it, somebody, and then that's the character that will be having to split their dice. In a fight where you're facing multiple enemies, you do not want to go first, and that's the trick. And that rule is based again off of my love of the old Toshiro Mifune samurai movies and things like that, where one samurai has to go up against multiple combatants, and as long as they can control the situation, they can handle them one at a time. Whack, 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 right? But if they lose control of the situation and they're forced to deal with all of them at one time, that's when they go down or have a much more difficult time. So that's a lot of fun. Aussie Dog, 4-player games sound like a wonderful organized chaos. Yes, indeed. Have a hard enough time remembering activations in a solo game. That is true. That is true. That is true. Good idea. What do you say? Wish Caleb could make it to Pulpalooza. Weather perfect to visit this time of year. Very nice. Caleb visited Karen's a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that one right.
Probably not.
Was loving his time in Australia. How awesome is that? That is really cool. I was just thinking about him the other day. At least a year on a working visa. Awesome. Semi-retired. Very nice. 4-player games all the time. We find that using counters is a must. It is easier for put the counters on the character card. Yes, absolutely. Yep. I would agree. As long as right, I put them out there on so that everybody could see them. That's how I know.
Sometimes I think, I feel like we're teaching bad habits.
Right. If you're playing at home and you're playing with your friends, I would much rather put counters instead of cluttering up the table like that. And, as soon as one of them gets shifted around and I don't know who that was, it's far better to put those counters out over here. And so I know this character's been in 2 fights, this character's been in 1 fight, this character's been in 1 fight. That is far better. And another reason why I prefer using the cards over just the paper rosters. So anyway.
Yeah, because that is...
Yeah. In these sort of situations.
And even for, plot points. It's hard to know,
Yeah, agreed. I really do.
We don't have that organization system for cards.
I really prefer using the character cards. There's nothing wrong with using the rosters, but whenever I use the rosters, I inevitably miss using the cards
and say you should have just printed the cards.
Yeah. So that was the rules for multiple fight. A lot of fun going over this. I hope that is helpful to anybody out there that has to deal with those big fights. Um, the big one to remember is that only the active character ever has to split their dice. Once you remember that, it is so much easier to deal with. And the big tip is also keeping track of your multiple fights and putting out the counters when you can. Eric Miller's on here too. Thank you guys so much. So everybody that can come join us on October 16th through the 18th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Come join us at Pulpalooza.
2025.
Pulpalooza 2025. Hey, I also wanted to mention that right now there's a heck of a sale going over at Tublic. Did I put that link in there?
I don't know.
Let me see if I put that link in there or not. Okay, there's the link to the TeePublic, the Pulp Alley page. Now, the only reason I'm sharing it with you, I hate like trying to sell stuff, but right now there is a sale going. I know we don't have any control of the sales. TeePublic just decides to do sales.
They do whatever they want.
Yeah, we don't know what they're doing. But like right now is when I'm thinking about ordering some for ourselves because the sale is going right now. So if you're thinking about getting any of the awesome teas that we have, there's also travel mugs and all kinds of silly Pulp Alley fun things, posters and stickers and hula hoops. Maybe there's not a hula hoop. Prove me wrong. If you can prove me wrong,
I will prove you wrong right now because I want a Pulp Alley hula hoop.
I want a Pulp Alley hula hoop. Playing with Travis Height this Sunday. I think we're going to do another brawl sort of, no plot points, just trying to kick the snot out of each other kind of deal.
Okay,
so
I got it.
We'll have some fun with that. And we're going to go ahead and call it there since the Savages are acting up next door and we have to get back to them.
Say good night.
So a big thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. We'll talk to you soon. Please, you don't want to, there's a really good video that's scheduled to post on Saturday. You don't want to miss that one. Anyway, we post a video practically every day. So get subscribed to our channel. Make sure you hit the like button. We really appreciate y'all. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Do 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 do.